Raise your hand if, when you're watching a film or listening to a song that has some sort of Easter egg in it, you physically cannot stop yourself from shouting about it. Knowing obscure and weird facts about our favourite media activates the brain's reward system and releases happy chemicals. It makes us feel special and important and really proud to be a bigger fan of something that we love so much. This phenomenon becomes even more noticeable when the fan base of the media in question is so massive. It is so exciting to be part of a small group within something else that is so huge. And this is exactly why hidden songs on albums were, and still are-ish, so popular. But before we go any further, hi, my name's Katie, and let's take a glance at the history of hidden tracks. For those of you that aren't frantically rifling through your old CD collections right now, a hidden track is exactly what it says on the tin. It's essentially a track, sometimes a few seconds long, sometimes a whole song, that is hidden on an album in some way, and the audience is not explicitly told that it's there. There are many reasons that bands and artists have hidden tracks on albums. Sometimes it's an artistic choice that's there to create mystery and hype and increase the commercial value. Sometimes it's because of legal problems or time restraints, and sometimes it's purely to scare the shit out of you. The first ever hidden track is widely believed to be Her Majesty by the Beatles, and it was entirely an accident. Back in 1969, when the Beatles were putting together rough mixes for Abbey Road, Paul McCartney told then 18-year-old tape assistant John Kurlander to remove Her Majesty. But the tape containing the song was put in their tin of masters rather than the box of rough cuts, and so it was accidentally included in the final master of the album, right at the end, after about 20 seconds of silence, which was the result of lead-out tape. So the album plays in its entirety, everyone's happy, everything's normal, everything's going as planned, and then there's 20 seconds of silence, and then Her Majesty starts playing, and it's not supposed to be there. Since then, songs and little pieces of music have been hidden in a variety of different ways and on hundreds of albums. Hidden tracks reached the height of their popularity in like the 90s and 2000s, when the most popular ways to listen to music were CDs, cassettes and vinyl, thanks to the vinyl revival that occurred sort of around the mid-2000s. Each different media brought their own way to hide tracks, so let's have a look at some of those, and let's start off with vinyl records. You've probably got at least a rough idea of how vinyl records work, but to very briefly summarise, the PVC disc has grooves on it that spiral from the outer edge into the centre. The grooves contain the waves of whatever song was recorded, and these grooves are read by the stylus and tone arm, and the sound is then amplified through the speakers. Bit of a rubbish explanation, but the point is that vinyl records are made up of grooves, which is a really, really good way to hide tracks. A clever and also pretty common way to hide tracks on vinyl is by using double grooves. As you can probably guess, double grooves are two grooves that run parallel to each other instead of just one single spiralling groove. This way, the stylus plays different material depending on which groove it's dropped on. So if you hide a track in a double groove that runs parallel to another track, like Tool did in 1992 on the 12-inch vinyl edition of the EP Opiate, they did it with the song The Gaping Lotus Experience, you won't actually find that song unless you physically pick up the stylus and place it on the double groove. Seeing as we're talking about hiding tracks on vinyl, I'm obviously going to talk about Jack White's 2014 LP Lazaretto. Side A of Lazaretto uses inverse grooves, so they run in the other direction. So the vinyl is played from the centre out. And then when it gets to the outer edge, it hits a locked groove and plays in an endless loop. But Jack White did take it a couple of steps further. The LP plays at a standard 33.3 RPM, but the hidden tracks don't. One of them plays at 45 RPM and the other is 78 RPM, but that's not it. The hidden tracks are also hidden in the center label of each side of the vinyl record. The fact that vinyl records use grooves that aren't super easy to individually spot unless you've got your nose right on them made them one of the go-to methods for hiding tracks on that particular medium. But these weren't the most common ways to hide tracks generally. The problem with hiding tracks on vinyl is you can physically see how much of that side you've got left before you have to turn it over or change disc. However, the method of reading whatever data contains the songs on a CD or a cassette is not visible to the audience, and so that opened up a lot more opportunities when it came to hiding tracks. This isn't to say that these methods aren't used on vinyl, they're just a bit more hidden when you can't physically see what's happening. So first up, literally just hiding a track within another track. Basically, you have your track that's listed on the back of your CD, you whack your CD in your CD player, the track plays, the track ends, and then silence. Too much silence. The numbers are still going on your CD player, but the song's ended. what's happening? Why is the track still playing? And then if it's Korn's 1994 self-titled album that you whacked in your CD player and the track you've just listened to is the final track, Daddy, then you'll wait 4.5 minutes approximately before you hear the sounds of an unknown couple having an argument. And that is actually a hidden track called Michael and Jerry. Or maybe it's Slipknot's 1999 self-titled album that you're listening to and you've just got 5 minutes of silence after the final track, Scissors, and the tracks you come across are Mudslide and Eeyore. There are loads of examples of this method being used with various durations of silence in between the official final track on the album and then the hidden one. Another similar example of this method is by layering loads of really, really short tracks one after the other in between the official final track and the hidden one. For example, officially there are 6 tracks on Nine Inch Nails' 1992 EP Broken, but if you get to the end of track 6 on the CD, then tracks 7 to 97 are just 1 second long silent tracks. And then you get to track 98, which is Physical, and track 99, which is Suck. The prominence of digital recording and the use of DAWs in the 90s and 2000s meant that these long periods of silence and these layered short silent tracks could be easily created digitally rather than reproduced on tape. Another easy and simple way to hide a track on CD and cassette is just to not mention it's there. Oftentimes listeners found these tracks by accident by skipping ahead too far, as the invention of CDs and cassettes meant that you could fast forward through tracks at the press of a button, but that also sometimes meant that tracks that were hidden after long periods of silence were sometimes missed. A good example of this is Queen's final studio album Made in Heaven, which lists 11 tracks on the back but actually features 13 tracks. Track 12 is just a 4-second long clip called Yeah, for obvious reasons, and then track 13 is an untitled 22-minute long instrumental. Now we've reached the part of the video where I get to talk about my favourite way of hiding tracks, which is only achievable on CD, the pre-gap. Let me give you a quick run through of how CDs work. So each track on a CD is split into indexes, with the beginning of each track being index 1. So if you select track 5 on a CD, and then the CD will play you index 1 of what the table of contents tells you is track 5. However, it is possible to designate an index 0 that would sit just before index 1. So usually in an album, index 0 is just the little bits of silence you get in between each track as an album plays. But you can have an index 0 before track 1. When you have an index 0 before track 1's index 1, that index 0 is called the pre-gap. When you load a CD that has a pre-gap, it won't play from the pre-gap, it'll play from track 1 index 1. So the only way to find the pre-gap is by rewinding past the beginning of track 1. Bands and artists have not just hidden like short pieces of audio in the pre-gap, but like whole songs. For example, there's The Real Song for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age in their 2002 album Songs for the Deaf, and there's also No Dave Party by AFI in their 1996 album Very Proud of Ya. Another method of hiding tracks exclusively on CD is by making them so that they're only accessible on a computer. Marilyn Manson famously did this in 1998 with the album Mechanical Animals, and basically using an enhanced CD and an auto-run program. When you would insert the CD into a computer, an untitled track and 2 paintings would automatically pop up on the screen. There are still a few other methods for hiding tracks that I could talk about, but if I did, I'd be here forever. So we're going to leave it there and let's talk about hidden tracks today. Streaming is the most popular method of listening to music today. So how do you hide a track on a streaming platform? You can't do it, it's stupid, video over, goodbye. I am joking, but in my opinion, the digitalization of music in the form of streaming has kind of killed the hidden track, but that does also depend on your definition of the word hidden. Obviously, tracks are still released on CD and vinyl, but what happens when that album inevitably ends up on a streaming platform? Some of the hidden tracks mentioned in this video don't even exist on streaming platforms, or they're just listed like regular tracks. Or even better, some of them are literally just titled hidden track. Obviously, you can still hide a track within another track after a period of silence, like the way Michael and Jerry is still hidden after Daddy. That's a really weird sentence. But Spotify literally tells you how much of the track is left, so you can kind of see it coming. What initially made hidden tracks so exciting and so popular was the element of surprise, the thrill of an accidental find, or the need to solve some sort of puzzle. I don't know, I feel like when the data is placed directly in front of you, it kind of takes a lot of the fun out of it. I don't know, I guess that's my opinion though. I'm going to bore you with some academic jargon now, but hidden tracks are an example of technological determinism. Essentially, technological determinism is how technology shapes society, which can be observed through the evolution of hidden tracks. For example, the invention of the CD permitted hidden tracks to be hidden in the precab. Additionally, the invention of streaming platforms has dictated how we hide tracks nowadays. Hidden tracks are not often defined by the contents of the hidden track itself, rather they're defined by the method in which they were concealed and the technology used. Basically, hidden tracks are not about the songs themselves, it's about how they were hidden. Hidden tracks are a really fascinating part of music technology, and I really recommend you go out and find some hidden tracks, find some albums that have hidden tracks on them. Chances are there's some albums that you really like that do have hidden tracks on them. They're a really popular thing to do. And it's not just a thing of like 10, 20 years ago, there are still albums being released with hidden tracks on them. Anyway, if I missed anything, or if you have anything interesting to add, please do put it in a comment below. I would love to hear it. I'm slightly delusional. I am absolutely exhausted. As of filming this, my major project for my master's degree is due in less than a week. And I've been working my arse off on this thing for the past couple of months. So I'm actually going to take a week off next week. Usually I upload every 2 weeks. As a one-off, I'm going to upload 3 weeks from now. So the next video will be on Tuesday the 12th of September. I just really need some time to catch up on some sleep and actually see my friends again. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in 3 weeks. So make sure that you are subscribed and you hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye.